Okay, everybody, welcome back. Hope you had a pleasant stay downstairs. We are going to get on with the next speaker, which is Herman Jan van Ree, with a presentation entitled Working on the Go. He's a senior consultant at Royal Haskoning DHV, and he's going to talk about commuting, traveling to work, and what implication that might have for the new ways of working. Okay, Herman Jan van Ree.
Okay, thank you for the introduction. My name is Herman Jan van Ree, and as said, I'm with Royal Haskoning DHV, but also borrowed some slides from the Dutch railways and a little bit of Regis, so I'm hoping I'm not eating in too much of the next presentation. Working on the go, I'd like to share a few insights with you guys on working on the go. The content is briefly on 3 different trends. One challenge, an integrated solution, and a sustainable conclusions. And before you guys can ask questions, I have a question for you guys. How many of you are actually working in the services economy? Well, that's pretty much representative. The services economy is the big pink one in the middle, and this is a growing sector. What this means is that we changed from the left-hand side, where we used to be a manufacturing-based economy, to a services economy working in offices. This means a lot more home work travel, and it also needs a lot more work travel. So we get from this picture to this picture, more cars on the road. Another one is on demographics. Again, a question for you guys. How many people have a husband or wife who is also employed in the services economy? Slightly less, but still a few. The 2 lines at the top, the black one is telling you couples where only one person is working. This is declining over time. The pink one tells you where both people are working, full-time and part-time, and that's on the rise. So we move from families more traditionally where the man is working to smaller families also, but where both people are working. And this means a lot more home work travel. So we get from this picture to this picture. And probably the second person entering the workforce has to travel even more than the first one, because the chance that your work for both people is close by your home is quite small. Another one is a question on organizations. How many of you work for a very small or maybe even a one-man company? Well, there's a few. I think it's getting more and more. The number of companies is still growing, and this is fully attributed to the freelance companies. So that's again the pink bit. This means that we shift from companies where we have quite a few people to one-man bands. And this means not necessarily a lot more home work travel, but it will require more work travel. If we combine all those trends, this is a picture from a few years ago. This would be the picture now. We put more cars on the road to travel from your home to work, and to travel from your work to meet clients and or colleagues. In solving this problem, we believe that, and this is a concept being developed by the Dutch railways and Regis, putting Regis type offices close to and onto railway stations. You get a shorter commute to the railway station, where you basically do a little bit of work, and then you travel onwards by train after all the traffic jams disappeared to either another Regis type office or to your headquarter office. If you still want to go from one office to the office, you can to another office, you can also borrow the so-called public transport bike, which is quite well known in the Netherlands. Solving the work travel problem can be done by putting trains, or in this case the trains are already there, but you basically put offices onto the stations, and you don't no longer commute by car from one office to a client or to a colleague, but you do this by train. And in between we have the little bike again. You need a number of critical enablers to actually facilitate all this, and these are some of the things most other presenters will talk about. You need to be able to shift from static paper-based archives to wireless internet and cloud computing. We move from face-to-face meetings to meetings and communication through social media networks. And we need to sort of make a shift from standalone offices to networks of offices which are also facilitated, which is, I think, quite important. What do these networks look like? There is already a number of these kind of concepts under development in the Netherlands. You basically travel from your house to the nearest train station where you can park your car and do some work. From the first bit of work, you basically walk to the train within 5 minutes. You travel after rush hour, so you can also get some work done on the train. And then traveling to clients and or college, you can also do by train. Facilitated means that you need to operate at least 4, maybe 6 trains per hour. You need to run this 24/7. This network already has a quick, fast connection to the main airport, Schiphol, Amsterdam Airport. And what they added onto the network are things like green wheels, for the little bits you still want to travel by car, public transport bikes and even public transport scooters. So this used to be the picture, where you have your little home on the left-hand corner, the headquarter, the local office and maybe the client. What is put in the middle is a whole network of Regis-type offices on railway stations. This is all connected by trains. Yes, when you're not living very close to a train station, you still have to actually get to one of those, to enter the network, to one of those offices by either car or your personal bike. And there's still some connections missing, which can be fixed by either the bus or the green wheels or the public transport bike. Within the trains you can also work nowadays. These are fully wireless trains. On the top end you see individuals working. What might be the next sort of workspace, collaborative workspace, could also be facilitated in trains. At the moment it's still the traditional train benches, but these might turn into little offices you can also rent when you book your train ticket. The offices themselves are sort of Regis-type station-to-station offices. They look a little bit like this. When you enter, you have the reception area where you spend up to 15 minutes of your time, grab a coffee, have an informal meeting. Then you have a sort of more closed area where you can have the more formal meetings, where you basically pay for a meeting room. And you can also get some work done, and these kind of offices are enclosed and you can rent them for just a day or a year or whatever you like. What do these kind of offices look like? This is the Regis kind of station-to-station office in Amersfoort. You enter the building by the sort of informal lounge where you can grab a coffee and have an informal meeting. These are the sort of working spaces you can rent if you really want to get some work done. And if it's more collaborative, you can also rent the kind of meeting spaces which can accommodate up to from 4 to 12 people. For the people who need a workout, I should do this probably more often. There is also a little gym involved where you can, you can in your suit, you can spend 10 to 15 minutes here and do a little workout without becoming too sweaty, and you can still go back to the office again. I think in conclusion, this is shifting from, it's a different way, different new way of working. It's also a more sustainable way of working. From an economic perspective, you can spend more of your time being productive, so you don't waste your time in traffic jams. I believe this could be more social, so the working day is now, for most of us, probably from 8 till 6 or even longer. This should be able to bring it back to 9 to 5, plus the little bit of travel you have to get to the train station. And the trains also consume way less energy, and they emit less CO2 than all those cars would do. And that was basically my story. I couldn't just leave this slide out. This is a little book we published last year on planning office spaces, more traditionally, but towards the future we would also like to invite all of you to submit the more awkward kind of workspaces so we can put them in the next edition of the book. And that was my story.
Does anybody have a question
Probably the people from Regis in the room can answer this question better, but the uptake is getting there. Our company, Royal Haskoning DHV, has a big office just outside Amersfoort, so we still have a lot of people traveling by car. We have, I think, in the Netherlands 12, 13, 14 offices, and we're also having conversations with the guys behind this concept to see whether we can use it for our own employees.
So you're still very much in the beginning of these developments, actually.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. This is not my concept. We did not necessarily develop this. I was supposed to explain this story together with people from the Dutch Railways. It's basically a joint venture between Regis and the Dutch Railways.
I see. Thank you. More questions?
What's the benefit of it all? Because what I want to explain to you is that you say, okay, you can commute first. Yeah, let's do it again. Okay. What's the benefit of it all? Because first you go to your office, and then later you say you go to your own office, correct or not?
Well, you can do,
Yeah,
but you don't necessarily need to.
Yeah, okay, because then I don't understand what the benefit will be on real estate. Cost will still be higher.
Yeah, but how do I explain this? If I spend 10% more on the real estate and the work environment and all the facilities that go with that, that's already cost justified if I'm just 1.1% more productive. Because the salaries are still way higher than the real estate accommodation cost per annum. And if I can avoid spending time in traffic jams, I haven't traveled a car for 7, 8 years, I think now, just up until this morning where I spent time in a traffic jam, which was a waste of time. So you take out the waste of time, and you can either decide whether you spend it on productive time for the company, or you spend it on the middle one, spend it with your family.
So what is the railway station's involvement in it? Is it supporting the system, or are they an active owner of real estate that they want to develop?
They basically own the railway stations and the land around those railway stations. So they develop this together with Regis. Their main interest is and will always be getting more people on the train. So if through these kind of concepts you don't get a lease car, you get a business card for the train, and you get access to the Regis kind of station-to-station concepts, they get more customers on the train.
Thanks for the story. You had a picture that showed all the offices and then my little house in the left corner. Yes, this one, thank you. I think that the main problem is, I think the solution is very good. For myself, I believe this is a very good concept, but the problem is how to get to the station for people who are really enjoying driving their cars. So I think it's not only that there should be offices at the train station, but also parking facilities or a station somewhere in the middle of nowhere where you can park your car and enter the train station.
Yeah. Now that is happening. On the top left corner you see the grey car which is driving towards the station. There is park and ride facilities at the stations. What you see happening at some of the metro stations, metro networks, is that you have, at the end of the network, you have dedicated stations where you basically pick up people and get them on the train. And that is happening here as well. And yeah, if you really want to spend your time in a traffic jam, that's obviously up to you. I can also sort of imagine that you unwind from work and that you take pleasure in driving a car. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because I think that's an image problem of the trains in, well, maybe especially in the Netherlands, that there is an image problem that you always have to wait and they are late. But I know they're more accurate than going by car. But I think that's one of the things that you have to get into the project, because it's not only the real estate and the stations, but it's also I think, for a lot to get the people from their house to the station.
Yeah, that's well. The Dutch railways are carefully looking into the pre- and post-transport to and from stations and trying to connect up the network in different ways. Yeah, we do complain about the railway services in the Netherlands. Apart from Switzerland and Japan, I don't think there's any other country who's running trains as good as we are. Yes, sometimes you have to wait 5 minutes. And also they're working on getting more trains onto the track. So you get almost like I think in 10 years time you get every 5 minutes you get a train, and there will be no longer train drivers, so it's fully automated trains, and it's getting better and better.